Hello and welcome back to a very exciting episode, a very in particularly super episode of Pro Wrestling Off Topic. We are coming to you live. It is Zach Yeager and Joshua Hagenbusher
Super.
here with a super duper episode of Pro Wrestling Off Topic. Here it is, June 13th, and man, Zach, it feels like it's been a while, but in all seriousness, since last week, it feels like, man, it feels like. I mean, we've only been apart for a week, but honestly, it feels like as far as newsworthiness
It's like a long time. Yeah, a lot has happened. And before we go any further, I just want to reestablish the fact, because the rivalry is over and we'll never have to go back. You are speaking to the champ, the ultimate pro wrestling guru now and forevermore. We don't have to talk about it again, but I just want to point out once again, I have won. And I've proven that you don't step up. Don't step up. You're going to get knocked down, okay? Just like that Drowning Pool song. Or maybe it's not Drowning Pool. Maybe it's something. I don't know.
It's the one where you get knocked down, and then you get up again, and no one's ever going to break you down.
Well, that's a different song. And that's not the message that I'm trying to send. The message I'm trying to send is if you want to step up, you're going to get knocked down, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
So don't step up to me. But yes, Joshua, I agree. A lot has happened in the last week that we definitely need to talk about.
Yeah, and starting off right away too, our hearts and thoughts are with those in Florida right now that are dealing with major tragedy from Saturday night's massacre. Just absolutely disgusting event that happened. And the segue for that, the only reason we'd mention it on our show is because TNA last night held Slammiversary at roughly 90 miles away from where that incident happened. And it was a live wrestling event with, a capacity crowd of some sort in that same area. And it was really, it was really big of them to mention it on their Twitter and also talk about how big of an event and how big of how much emotions were going on in that area, just for them to put together a show like that. So my TNA Slammiversary review will come at the end of this hour. And I just wanted to say as well, on behalf of Pro Wrestling Off Topic, what a horrible occasion for all those people, those families, and those people dealing with all that pain right now. So our thoughts are with them.
Everyone who's friends with me on my social media, you saw my post earlier today, probably, I don't know, maybe in your feed about it's just I happen to my day job now happens to be in the news field, and it was not easy today to cover that story. Especially going into we went into extended coverage. I work for a news radio station, and we wound up preempting the Brewer game, just to go into full coverage with everything that was going on, all the information as it was coming, and then eventually we went forward with we even streamed the Fox News channel because we were done with the radio coverage, but we wanted to keep it going for anybody who might have missed anything. And there, I saw people at 3, 4, even 5 in the afternoon. They're like, "Oh, I just heard," and I'm like, "Well, one, you must have been pretty off the grid today if you had just heard at 5 o'clock. But hey, stuff like that happens, and that's why we do what we do. So I just want to get my thoughts out there to anybody who's affected by this, and anyone in the LGBTQ plus community. My heart is with you.
Absolutely. But without any other further announcements or anything, pro wrestling, it's here, and there's a lot of news going on. Zach, where would you like to start, Zachy?
Well, we both watched NXT, right?
Absolutely. Wednesday night was quote unquote the end for NXT, whatever that means. Because what exactly ended? I'm not sure.
I mean, in
the feud between Samoa Joe and Finn Balor.
Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, but also, the Facebook interview, they hyped this up before the show. They said Triple H is going to be on Facebook Live. He's going to be talking right after the show, and I'm like, what? Like, this could actually be like if it's called the end. But then, of course, the show starts, and they reveal the full title card. It says the end of the beginning. And apparently this is the new page, some sort of page turn in the NXT chapter book, even though I kind of thought that the page had already turned. Am I the only one who felt that way?
Yeah, I agree. It's the end of Nia Jax's push.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like, I had felt like it had already turned. Like, you know, Sami Zayn leaving was like the last of like the big four, big five NXT or whatever to go. I mean, if you want to consider Finn Balor, I don't consider him like an original. Like I'm saying, like all of the originals of NXT had gone away. And like now you had like the new crew, and I consider Finn Balor to be like the face of that newer crew. But now he's going to be going too. I mean, I can only
I assume he'll be off. I mean, he's got one more feud pretty much in him for NXT, which is a big one, which we'll have to get to in a little bit.
Oh, yes. But what do the shows start with? Manny Andrade Cien Almas versus the Perfect 10, Ty Dillinger, who I really honestly think it would have been better suited for Ty Dillinger to get the win. Because you could do anything with this Manny Andrade. You could literally do anything. He's a great athlete. He's got a great look. And as long as you don't screw him up like you did with Alberto, I mean, he'll be, maybe he has the potential to be. I mean, if you let him work a little more of his lucha style into there, he has the potential to be that Hispanic star that you've been waiting for since Rey Mysterio. Right. So, you know, you just don't need to screw him up. But I think that it would have done them some good because the people are into Dillinger. It's clear. Like it's very clear at this point. And that's the funny thing is they haven't even pushed him. He just loses all the time, but people love him.
He's super over, yeah.
You could at any point put a rocket on him and put him in the main event scene, and people would buy it.
Yep,
but
I agree.
They're going to keep him as the jobber to the stars for now, I guess.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. He is very over. I hadn't had a lot of experience watching him wrestle, so this is like the first like NXT takeover event that he was actually a part of. But yeah,
I think he was a part of. I think he was a part of one other one. I'm trying to. I can't really remember it myself. I guess that proves how memorable it was. But I thought he was a part of another one. I guess I might be wrong.
I don't know. Maybe.
How funny is it? Do you remember it was more than a year ago, I think, at this point, but we were talking about because they had him as a tag team. It was Ty Dillinger and Jason Jordan. They were a tag team together.
Oh, weird.
And I mentioned them on this show. I was like, these guys are kind of generic, but they could be a good team. And then they split them up, and look where they both are now. One of them is part of like the hottest tag team in the company, arguably, and the other is doing just fine on his own, even though he's got kind of a poor slot. So
yeah, true. Actually, so that show started off with Ty Dillinger and Cien, and Lita pointed out during the pregame that Cien is actually 10 times 10.
That's right.
10 times better than 10.
Better than 10.
Which was pretty much the highlight of the pre-show because that was really bad in my opinion. I tried to watch it and it was just awful. It's so weird. It's such a weird idea.
What, the pre-show?
Yes. If they talk about the event and they talk about, storylines that are going on, or if they show a couple dark matches, that's one thing. But to sit there and like, oh, we have 10 minutes. Can you guys just sit and kind of BS about it? And Lita doesn't, you could tell when she just kind of starts talking and she asks like, oh yeah, what's his name? Stuff like that. Like she doesn't follow NXT probably as closely as the other guys do. But I don't know. I was giggling and laughing about how much they were stuttering over the words and just trying to stall because it felt like they were stalling for a while before the show.
Well, they had her as a coach for that Tough Enough season they did on USA.
Yeah.
And then they had her on WrestleMania, and she was like, ever since they put her in the Hall of Fame, basically, she's been very like around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at big stuff, she's like there, and it's really odd. I wonder what they did. Like, I wonder why she's doing. You think maybe she's just out of money or something? I don't know. She for years she just disappeared, and I figured that she was just one of those that wasn't going to be back.
Right.
And here she is. I mean, because she has legitimate cred. I mean, a lot of people really enjoyed her work. I mean, me among them. So
of course, yeah, absolutely. So NXT, where does it go from here? What after the opening match, and I believe it was the tag titles?
Tag titles, which was insane. Like,
yeah,
it's really hard to gauge because I think I liked their first match better. But I will say this. I don't think I've ever seen a tag team match where the heels have not gotten the heat for that long.
Yeah.
Like, they kept that heat segment away for such a long time. Just when you thought the heels were going to cheat and get the heat, it's like, nope, we thwarted you. We've done it. We've scouted your every move. We know you. And eventually, I mean, the funniest part about it to me was that the heels desperately tried to cheat. They desperately tried to take every shortcut that they could. And in the end, they won clean.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a cheat. I mean, you could argue the double team behind the referee's back was kind of a cheat, but like, I mean, they won just about as clean as you could in a tag team match. And there they are. The heels are the new. I guess that the other thing, I've never really, I mean, we've talked about it before. I've never really been super sold on the Revival as like a team that I want to watch all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they're really good workers, but they just haven't been like very strong on the personality front for me. But I felt like in this match, you know, they got the big win. They got the titles back. The first ever team to win the tag titles twice in NXT. I'm fine with them. I've always been fine with them, but you know, I'm good. I'll watch them from here on out. They've definitely earned a lot of my respect.
Is this a way to get Gable and Jordan up to the main roster, do you think, when they do the brand splits?
But I don't think so. I mean, they had them get attacked by the Authors of Pain right after. So I can only imagine that they're going to feud with them at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the name. The Authors of Pain.
Well, they're the Road Warriors or the Legion of Doom. They're the Authors of Pain, man.
Yeah.
They've got Paul Paul
Ellering.
Paul Ellering. I was going to say Ellinger. I'm like, no, that's Dillinger.
Paul Ellering showing up in NXT. I walked away for a minute, and then I heard about the beatdown after the pinfall, and I walked back in, and I'm like, why is Paul Ellering standing there? And Tasha's like, my wife's watching with me. She's like, Paul Ellering? And then the crowd starts chanting, who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
What? A bunch of fucking morons.
Yeah, what a bunch of losers.
I mean, not one guy in the crowd could say, oh, that's Paul Ellering, you know, Hall of Famer. He was the manager for the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. Well, guys, seriously.
Looks a lot different. And to be completely fair, he does
not look any different.
He hasn't been on TV in a very long time. I mean,
that's really true. He's been basically, I don't know, since the 80s, 90s. Like, he hasn't been around forever, but
I mean, he was on the Hall, like they put him in the Hall of Fame a couple of years back, but that would have been, I think, the most recent appearance that he made. So.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know what they did to get him involved in NXT. That's freaking awesome. I love it. I mean, the only thing he can do is add some class and some like legitimacy to those guys that he's like,
sure,
you know, apparently being a manager for.
The new Road Warriors, yeah.
But they are not. They're not.
Is that they're trying again with the new Road Warriors? I thought the Ascension were supposed to be the final Road Warriors project. You're going to try this again? I mean, by all means, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, the Ascension didn't work, so let's try again. But these guys aren't, you know, there's nothing to them that says Road Warriors other than they're two big Brutus, you know, brooding dudes. They could be the new Power and Glory. They could be the new, you know, APA. I mean, any two big tough guy tag team that you can think of. They're not necessarily Demolition or Powers of Pain. They're just two big dudes. I mean, they look like 3 Minute Warning.
Right. They kind of do. The funny, I've seen pictures of them on house shows, and they come to the ring with these big black masks on, kind of like that video game Army of Two, which I actually like that look. I mean, if they came to the ring with the masks on, like at NXT at the end, and they just like kept the masks on the whole time, I think that actually would have probably more mystique to them. But
yeah, true.
Instead, they were just dudes, just like big dudes wearing black.
Big dudes. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to think of that. Well, I guess I'll hold my judgment until we actually see something done with those guys.
Sure. Moving on to Austin Aries, the greatest man that ever lived, versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. The match didn't let down, that's for sure. It was very exciting. A lot of I mean, Nakamura, I think he can make anyone look good. I'm wondering if there's any way for him to have a bad match.
I
don't know.
I don't know. I think his matches on TV haven't been that good. I mean, unlike the NXT TV where he just squashes
Sure,
somebody.
they're
I mean,
mostly
of course, it's entertaining, but is it like a good match? No. But I know what you mean. Like, if you give him 10 minutes with someone, is it going to be a bad match? Probably not.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Now Austin Aries came to the ring all banged up. He had like a black eye and tapes around his ribs, and they didn't really say anything or explain what happened.
Yeah, I think one of the announcers did. One of them said like, "Oh, what's up with the tape?" Like they mentioned something really weird that I've never heard on a WWE show before. They said, "Well, Austin Aries, his injury was never reported, or like he's not on the injury.
It's not in the injury report, is what
or something like that." It was really weird. I'm like, "What? Like you're using like an NFL term?
Yeah.
What is this? I thought this wasn't a sport. I thought this was entertainment."
Yeah, there's no injury reports in
injury report
in Hollywood, kid.
Get him out of here. You're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Get him out of here, Mean Gene.
Get him out of here, Donald. That's right. Vince McMahon, Donald Trump, 2016.
Yes.
What happened?
Indeed. Yeah, it was really odd, and you could tell that he was sort of favoring it, and I didn't know if that was sort of a cop-out by any means to like say, well, Nakamura didn't get Austin Aries on his perfect game or his A game or whatever.
It seems that they've moved past the feud pretty swiftly. I mean, it seemed to be a one-off just to get a cool match on the Takeover show.
True.
Now Aries is focusing on somebody else, and I can't remember exactly who, but that's a taping spoiler. I guess we shouldn't go into that. But
yeah, don't be surprised if this coming Wednesday, if Austin Aries doesn't say something about how, there are no excuses in pro wrestling, but he didn't get me on my 100% A game.
That's true. Also, I could have swore, and I did not go back and watch the match, so I don't know this for sure, but I was pretty sure that I thought that I heard the ref, he was getting pretty high up in the count. Like, he was counting out Nakamura, and he was getting pretty high up in the count. And Aries, instead of letting the count out happen, he dove out of the ring. And that was when he hit the guardrail, and then that was the end of him. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I actually really liked that setup for the finish in the sense that like his pride, like he wasn't just gonna let Nakamura get counted out. Like he wanted to finish him. But there was that one move too many, one move in the wrong spot, and now he's the loser.
Yep.
So good stuff. Good work, of course.
Yep, good. It was good all around. It was an exciting match. I'd consider that to probably be my second favorite match of the night.
Oh yeah, it's really hard between the tag match, that match, and the main event. It's hard to pick one. I mean, they were all very, very even.
Yeah, the main event. Honestly, it was probably. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very good, but I don't know if it was as good as some of the earlier bouts between the two. And, I'm kind of curious here. When is the last time that the World Heavyweight Championship or the NXT Championship has changed hands on an NXT event on tape, like a live event for pay-per-view?
That's a good question.
It's been over a year now, hasn't it?
It's been Kevin Owens winning it on the Takeover Rival, I believe. Or was it maybe it was something before that? But
when did Kevin Owens drop it, though?
Kevin Owens dropped it at Beast in the East in Japan.
That's right.
A year ago in July.
Which wasn't an NXT event, but
no, it was WWE event with Brock Lesnar on the show, and yeah, that was not an NXT event. You're right. So then Joe won the title on a house show.
House show, yep.
So the NXT Championship has not changed hands on NXT TV in over a year.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's old school, man.
Yeah, and that was February of 2015 that it last did.
Wow, that's Ring of Honor stuff there, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, I was trying to think of it, and it's like, okay, so now this time, since the last NXT pay-per-view, you want to call them supercards, whatever, but pay-per-view, since the last time that they've had a big NXT arrival show, the last time they fought each other, it was with Joe challenging Finn Balor, and Finn retained, and then they had the house show title change, and now they got this match again, and I believe this is the third time that Joe and
this might be the fourth.
On a pay-per-view?
Yeah, because if we go back, NXT Dallas they fought,
Yep.
NXT London they fought,
Yeah, that's right.
and NXT Takeover. No, it is the third, because the Takeover before that was Respect, and that was when they won the Dusty Rhodes Classic together. So this
That's
is
right.
the third pay-per-view match in typical WWE fashion. The third match of their feud, the final match of the feud.
But in NXT, that covers 9 months.
Yeah, it's a long time. It's been a very long feud.
Yeah, it's good. It's the historied feud. It's very cool. I'm glad they did it.
And I can't wait to let them. I can't wait until they let him tear it up on the main roster someday. That's going to be cool too. I mean, unless Joe just gets old and slow, because as we've seen with many guys over the last couple of years who are getting up there, you basically, it's like one day you're the same and the next day you're not. Like,
right.
And I'm worried. I'm worried that day is going to come for Joe. I'm worried that day is going to come for AJ before they're like allowed, before they can like do all of the matches that we want to see. But
yeah, I mean, AJ has already done his WrestleMania match, and I know he's only got a 3-year contract, so you can kind of technically say AJ's already there. But I do wonder if Joe and Austin Aries, like, if they're ever going to get off the NXT roster.
Oh, I think Joe will. Absolutely. He's got the potential to be anything they want him to be. Literally anything. So I don't know
he'd be over. He'd be super popular.
I mean, he was the first guy that they brought in and let him keep his name.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess we'll move on to Asuka, the worst match of the night, arguably. Asuka and Nia Jax. Asuka wins with the big kick to the head, or a couple of kicks to the head. She pins the monster, which, yeah, Nia Jax is not ready to be in this spot. Like, if you've got such a strong tradition of strong women's matches on these shows, this was not the night to feature her.
Right. I don't hate Nia Jax. I really do actually kind of like her. And I don't know if they really have anybody outside of Bayley that is ready for that spot. Because honestly, most of the rest of the women that they have on the NXT roster are your more diva style. I know that like Enzo and Cass's manager Carmella is still on it, and so is Bayley, and so is Nia Jax, and so is Asuka. And it's like, who else do they have?
They have Alexa Bliss, who she falls short of that standard as well. You know, she's like the most experienced. If you like take away Bayley, like I think she's the most experienced left on the roster in NXT. But something I do notice, conspicuous by her absence, is Eva Marie.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They had her as that part of that team with Nia Jax, and now she's just nowhere to be found. So I wonder if that means that they're probably filming something for Total Divas or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
But I wonder when she'll show up again, because I think having her as the heater for Nia Jax, that they are a good act together. But it's also weird because anytime Nia Jax opens her mouth for like a promo, like it immediately takes all of the mystique away from her character.
Yeah.
She's, let me tell you something, Bayley, and you're like, I thought you were supposed to be a monster.
It's true. That's true.
You sound like every other like stupid woman in this company. Like you don't sound intelligent. Like she doesn't necessarily. I'm not gonna say she doesn't sound intelligent, but like I don't know. There's just something about her promos that throws me off.
She doesn't sound frightful because in real life she's actually a really good person. Like,
oh yeah.
The Rock's cousin. I mean, that's what she's known as that. And then like during the Breaking Ground episode with her on it, just hilarious watching her and The Rock interact around WrestleMania time, because all that she built up to try to make it, and her mom, being like, honey, just so you know, you don't necessarily have that prototypical look, you're not exactly, a diva or this model. And she's like, Mom, I'll be fine, And then like when she got to WrestleMania, every time she started talking, she kept crying because she's so emotional about everything. And it's like, okay, how are you going to make her a monster now that I've seen her like this? Because it's just not going to work.
Well, I mean, that's the argument with any Breaking Ground. I guess that's the funniest thing about it, is the guy who came off the most like his character on Breaking Ground, or as on the male side at least, was Baron Corbin.
Oh yeah, true.
he came off like an asshole, and he probably is a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
But then and that's the funny thing. They had that Breaking Ground Reloaded special that aired right after.
Well, that's the first episode of the new season.
I thought it was a 1 hour special. I thought it was just a follow up. I don't think there is going to be a new season.
Oh, that's disappointing because I really actually enjoy this show. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's a cool little look. But the funniest part about it to me was that they had like 3 total seconds of like following somebody backstage, and you could see like Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews were like talking to each other. And I'm like, oh, we're breaking kayfabe, brother.
Kayfabe. No, I actually thought, okay, so they talked about NXT Dallas on that episode of Breaking Ground Reloaded.
Yep, covered that whole WrestleMania weekend.
And they covered the whole WrestleMania weekend, and I actually would say that Corbin, came off as kind of a little less of an asshole and more genuine, and you were kind of like rooting for him because the way he came out, and when they told him about like, you're going to be on WrestleMania, you're going up to the main roster, and you're going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and like, Sami Zayn's walking up behind him. He's like, Corbs, hey, how's it going, man? What you doing here? And he's like, hey, I'm in the Battle Royal. And
on the show,
Sami Zayn's like, oh my God, I'm so happy, finally. And he's like, oh, I know. I'm just going to try not to throw up. And it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. Whereas like Enzo and Cass, like Triple H told them that they were going to the main roster, and Cass is like, finally. It's like, really? You say finally?
Yeah.
I mean, finally you get to that spot that you've been trying to get to, but like, are you saying finally, like you guys woke up and you see how over we are? Or I don't know. It's very,
probably. I mean, they've probably been, I mean, you said it a long time ago. They've been ready to go since like at least the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know, but when you're like getting a promotion from your boss, you don't say, oh, finally,
Right.
You just say, thank you. I appreciate the challenge ahead of me, and I hope I impress you, whatever, something.
Right. And then, of course, the main event, which we already talked about, Samoa Joe defeating Finn Balor clean in the cage.
Yep.
In really the perfect spot. Finn went up top to go for his big foot stomp of death. And, of course, if he would have hit that, he would have had to have won. So, instead, Joe countered he brought him down from the cage into the muscle buster position, gave him a huge muscle buster from the top rope.
Yep.
And, destroyed Finn. 1, 2, 3. The end forever of Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. But it looks like Finn's at least going to have one more feud on the main or feud in NXT before he goes up. Which all right, so we're going to end our non-spoiler talk, and for like the next 5 minutes, we're probably going to be spoilers. So
get ready for spoilers.
2, 1.
Spoilers alert.
So, Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that is going to be so fucking cool. Like, and I know they're doing house shows in Japan in early July, and Shinsuke is supposed to be on the show, and I think he's wrestling Kevin Owens.
Yeah, aren't they also doing a Shinsuke Nakamura John Cena house show?
I had seen that, but I don't think that's actually confirmed. I think it was just like a Photoshop done up sort of thing. But they might be. The rumor was that they were going to do a Shinsuke John Cena match in Hawaii. And that they were going to stream that event on the network. It was going to be like their Beats in the East for this year, except in Hawaii.
Yep.
And they I had even heard that the rumored name was going to be Bash at the Beach.
Well, that'd be cool.
That would be cool, but I don't think they're going to do that. I feel like they might stream the event from Hawaii. I think it's the first event in Hawaii in like 10 years plus.
Huh.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've actually.
It's been a long time. But yeah, the excitement behind Nakamura versus Finn Balor in NXT, you should get excited, especially if you've seen them wrestle before. March 22nd in 2014 at the New Japan Cup, there was a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Prince Devitt match. That was quite an exciting match. So if you want to check that out, check it out on YouTube or somewhere else. But Nakamura and Prince Devitt from March 22nd, 2014.
And now they're going to mix it up one more time.
Yeah, before they come to the main roster.
Who knows? So my question to you now, and of course I don't know if you can really consider this a spoiler, considering that WWE covered it tons themselves. But of course, Bobby Roode has made his official debut in ring at the NXT Download Festival in England. Which is interesting because he was on the Takeover show, and then they gave his debut for TV.
Yeah, I know.
Again, NXT very not prototypical in that sense. You know, they changed the title on the road. They debut their big guys on the road. It's like you pretty much have to go to NXT events, which I'm glad that they're building that. But what do you think? I think it's possible that Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, they may wind up only working NXT. I feel like the chances of them coming to the main roster, if they're not heading straight to the main roster, especially when they need so much talent now for the brand split, do you think that they'll ever come up, or do you think that they're just using them to work with the young guys?
I think that it'll be really good for them to work with the young guys, but I think that Bobby Roode has a better chance of, if they maybe decided that they're just going to put him in NXT and see how they do. You know, one of those kind of things like, we're not really decided yet on how we're going to decide on their future right now. My personal opinion is I think Bobby Roode has a better chance of making it to the WWE roster than someone like Austin Aries, mainly just because of potential and size and just overall capabilities. I think Bobby Roode is more of I shouldn't say recognizable, but he is a more typical look, and he's got the height advantage. He's got an ability on the microphone. He's got a real, I mean, they're equal, or maybe Austin Aries might even have an edge as far as in-ring talent goes, but Austin Aries is also a lot shorter, and Vince would have a really hard time to figure out where to put him. Bobby Roode is probably about the same size as Triple H, minus 25 pounds of bulk. I mean, honestly, the guy has a lot of classic wrestling style in him, and I think he's the type of guy that could be in NXT for 6 months and then be on the main roster feuding with Kevin Owens fairly quickly. Austin Aries, I don't know if I see that. I think he is probably in more of that position to be that like veteran, teach the young guys the ropes, figure out who in the ring is ready to go up to the main roster and things like that, kind of help out. I kind of think Samoa Joe's in a similar position.
No, I don't think so. I think that Joe was a test. He was like a pilot to see if they could bring somebody from, he was AJ before AJ. Like they brought him in with his own name, and they wanted to see if people would respond to him, and people have. I mean, he's too much of a talent. You can't fucking waste him on this show.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I wanted to mention too that's really odd is that so Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, and AJ Styles are all in WWE right now. And at the beginning of this year, before AJ Styles had signed with WWE along with Gallows and Anderson, there was a lot of rumors about them all being in TNA. Not Samoa Joe because he was already under contract with WWE, but like Austin Aries was thinking about re-signing with TNA. AJ was even rumored to be, like signing some kind of promise note or something like that. And then Bobby Roode was actually a part of TNA, so was Eric Young. But James Storm wound up jumping the gun a little bit and re-signed with TNA for a 2-year deal.
Oh, yeah.
However, he hasn't been on TV in almost 2 months. They haven't used him at all. And last night's Slammiversary, the entire card, not a single James Storm match. He wasn't even booked for the show.
That's really odd.
Isn't it? I'm almost wondering if he's basically said, like, look, I made a huge mistake. I will go and work on NXT. Or I want to do something else. Or maybe he's hurt. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too much, but it's really odd. I'm like, you'd think with TNA having lost all these guys, and it's like, who's recognizable that's left on this roster? James Storm and Abyss are your originals that are left. And Abyss is in a good spot. Tag team champion. He's actually feuding. He's in an interesting storyline. It's too bad all of their tag teams are hurt, so they have to actually feud with the Bromans, but it is what it is, whatever. But James Storm, they don't have him on any storylines, no backstage vignettes, no videos, no nothing. And I'm like, where is he? Is he even on the roster anymore? I was kind of confused looking at it.
Storm, it was a weird thing because, I mean, we talked about Breaking Ground. James Storm was on Breaking Ground.
Yeah.
You can see him in like the room when Triple H is addressing everybody. He's there. Like, so clearly that guy wasn't just there for those matches. Like, he was around. I don't know what they had him do. Maybe they just had him, I don't know, take a test drive, you know, spend a week or two there just to kind of get the feel of the place.
Yeah, he was in 2 matches, I think, right?
Yeah, he had 2 matches on TV, and I think that they were both. No, I think they were at separate tapings. I don't think they were at the same taping. So that's kind of
really weird.
He spent a while there so much that I was like, okay, well, he for sure signed something, right? So, and I think it also says a lot about Triple H's respect for him. Then probably,
yeah.
Like, so you can come in and just kind of see what's up, and then if you don't like it, you don't like it. But like that's very rare. I feel like I don't know.
It's weird. I mean, yeah. Bobby Roode and Austin Aries earlier, but Bobby Roode and Eric Young both, you know, got their release from their contracts, their long-term contracts. And James Storm is there like, guys, I just re-signed. Like, I just got back here. Why? What? You know, what the hell?
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I mean, shockingly, TNA is, you know, their exposure and their views every week has actually been going up. So I don't know, they're doing something right, but to not use James Storm at all is really weird to me.
Speaking of total nonstop action, they, along with Lucha Underground, were a part of a trios tournament this week. And,
they were.
I understand that you watched that match.
I watched nights 1 and nights 2. There were 3 nights total. I did read up on what happened on the 3rd night. The Lucha Libre World Cup. It's a trios event where it's basically 6-man tags. The whole show is 6-man tags. It's 3-on-3 matches with the winners moving on in a tournament, a huge tournament. And I'll read some of the names that were in it here. I brought it up here. But one thing I wanted to note here is that the show involves a lot of pros and not so pros. And say what you will about some of the guys in TNA or some of the guys in Noah, which was a part of the show, which is pretty awesome. Or even, you know, some Lucha Underground or the Mexican legends, like the legendaries that they had a team of. But when you have guys in the ring with guys that know what they're doing and the guys in the ring being guys that don't know what they're doing and maybe even have some of those unskilled and unpolished green, let's call them green wrestlers in there with the ring with each other, it's so noticeable. And the pros looked so good compared to these not very good wrestlers. And this show, for whatever reason, and I've always heard about AAA shows down in Mexico having tons of botches, and this show was full of them. Team AAA was headed up by Pentagon Jr. Of course, you should know from Lucha Underground. Team Noah actually had Taiji Ishimori. And then a few other guys that I'm not too familiar with. There was also the Team Mexico Legends, which actually included Blue Demon Jr. and La Parca. Then there was the big Team Mexico team that had Rey Mysterio Jr. and Dragon Azteca Jr. They were awesome. Honestly, Rey Mysterio looks like he has got some serious firecrackers in his ass because he looks better than he's looked in the last 5 years.
Wait, in WWE, I'm sure that he had that pressure to like look muscular or whatever.
Yeah,
and he was always just so big, and then by the end of his career, he was too big. Or his end of his career there,
yeah,
he was wearing the shirt and all this stuff. But yeah, no, like I mean, obviously he's still wearing a shirt, but no, he's lost a lot of weight. He's slimmed down, and he's working better than he has in years.
So I noticed in the tournament too, and it was probably booked this way specifically, they never wound up having Team TNA versus Team Lucha Underground. But they both did get to the semifinals, and they both lost in the semifinals, and then the championships happened. So I wish there was a loser bracket just to see Lucha Underground versus TNA. But Lucha Underground's team. I'm sorry.
I see here that Mil Muertes and Rockstar Spud were on the same team.
Yeah, and the Resto del Mundo team. I don't know what that means. Is that just TV stars? It was Mil Muertes, Rockstar Spud, and Apollo. And Apollo, if you remember him at all, he was like in year 1 of TNA, and he's a very big dude. And I'm like, why don't they work out an arrangement to bring him back? More on that though. There is an arrangement that's going on for TNA that's actually kind of exciting for them. So after we get to the Mexico stars,
Resto del Mundo is rest of the world.
Oh, okay.
Like just a collection of guys, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, it's an English guy. It's two Spanish guys. But Team Lucha Underground consisted of Brian Cage, Johnny Mundo, of course, John Morrison from the WWE fame, and Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Oh, Guerrero.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Yeah, he's only been on Lucha Underground for like a week. So,
no, Chavo's been a part of Lucha Underground since the beginning.
Has he really?
Yeah, he has. He was one of the core personalities. In fact, one of the first feuds they ever did was him and Blue Demon Jr.
Oh, okay.
He killed Blue Demon. He started the show as a babyface, but he turned on Blue Demon Jr. and he hit him with a chair and he like destroyed him in the ring. Then he actually had a lot of heat with like everybody, like every character, not like the heels, everybody. They were like,
"That's funny.
Oh, you're a traitor, man. We're keeping our eye out around you, Chavo Guerrero."
Chavo Guerrero. See, this is what I missed out on. So I got you around. I did not know about that feud. I've seen Chavo on a couple times. Apparently, he's a face or something again. Because like when I saw it a couple weeks ago, he was just wrestling some dude. And
he wrestled Cage recently. He actually became the Gift of the Gods champion for 1 week.
Really?
And Cage won it from him, and then immediately cashed it in the next week against Matanza.
Yeah.
They were in a cage or something. I forget who won. I'm pretty sure that Cage lost, but
yeah, no, he did lose. That's Lucha Underground is sort of in a position right now, in the same position that Ring of Honor is in for me. Like I'm not a big fan of this Matanza guy. I'm not a fan of. He's a boring wrestler. He's just a big hulking, slow, boring dude, and
it's all about the character. And the character is that he's a killer.
I guess he's got a good manager who's like the old leader or the old owner of
Mario Cueto, his brother.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Mil Muertes was one type, and it's basically Judas Mesias from TNA in a mask. Big dude, very powerful, very evil. He looked awesome on his throne, and then he got beat by a guy who looks just like Seth Venison from the ECWA. And then, anyway, so then we have TNA's team, which was EC3, Eli Drake, and Tyrus.
Actually, he didn't get beat by him. Mil Muertes was beaten by Phoenix.
Really?
Mil Muertes was beaten by Phoenix in a great match, a great finish to their feud, and like they had a very, very intense battle, and it was like Phoenix came out on top just barely, and it was like then Katrina came out and she was like, "Oh, you think you've got it easy? Nope. Next week you have to defend the title in Aztec Warfare, and you're going to be number 1, and Mil Muertes is going to be number 20." And then Matanza wound up being number 21, and he won the title in that big Aztec Warfare Battle Royal.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I felt like Phoenix. I do remember that now, and I do, and it did feel like Phoenix had the championship for like a day, and
it was 1 week.
Okay. That's cool, I guess. But it went from one big hulking slow guy to another big hulking slow guy in the midst of that. Overall, I thought the show was exciting. It was fun. It was a good, huge crowd. And I watched it in Spanish commentary. So my Spanish is terrible. But it was sort of interesting. I kind of keep it on in the background. I had to pay attention, though, to see the actual matches. But I thought that Team TNA and Team Mexico International, which saw the ending having Rey Mysterio pinning Tyrus, was pretty good. Was actually pretty good. Eli Drake was good on the show. EC3 was pretty good in the ring. They did some interesting things with it. Lucha Underground with Chavo and Brian Cage and Johnny Mundo. They were really, really good. Probably the best wrestlers were either like the international Mexican team or Lucha Underground, just because I think they were more comfortable there in front of their own crowd. They could react better. Sure. But going into this too, the agreements and the contracts that are going on right now, apparently for 2017, there's a rumor that TNA somewhere in the US are going to hold the Trios World Cup next year. And they're going to be the main promoters for it. They're going to be the main organizers of the events. And this is just a rumor. I don't think anything's been officially made yet, but it was a part of their agreement to why TNA kind of suddenly appeared on here, because apparently there was a whole bunch of people that either couldn't make it or last minute, dropouts for the event, and TNA came in and filled those spots, and they were a part of their agreement were so that they could hold a future World Cup for the Lucha Libre World Cup in the US. So we'll have to see what that means for next year.
Sure.
if next, May and June they're talking about a World Cup in TNA, then we'll know that those rumors are true. But that'll be exciting. That'll be kind of neat to have an event like that on U.S. grounds. So we'll see. That'd be kind of cool.
I think so. I agree. Well, before we get going, because I know that we're running against the clock here, I wanted to go with another travel back in time, because as we all know, this Sunday, John Cena and AJ Styles will go one-on-one, and of course there are other matches at Money in the Bank.
Yep.
But who really cares about them? The real match is John Cena and AJ Styles. But I know there's a world title match too, which they're gonna have some sort of finish, and we're all gonna be upset. And then there's Money in the Bank, which if they put it on, I don't know. I think I might be okay with any of them winning. I mean, I don't think I'm okay with Jericho winning it, but
yep.
Right, he's probably the one. I mean, if anybody else got the briefcase, I'm sure I'd be okay with it. Also, they kept teasing that there would be a seventh man, but now there just seems to be a sixth man. I'm sure that Randy Orton will return on the pay-per-view, and he'll probably be in that match. So that's just my prediction right now. But regardless, so tonight on Monday Night Raw, it is their go-home show. So I decided to go and look back at 2002 WWE and find a go-home show from that era. And we can now compare the major angles and see how they wind up building it up. So this is an episode of SmackDown from October 17th, 2002. This is the go-home show for Unforgiven. Or no, not Unforgiven. No Mercy, with Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell match as the main event of that show. I won't go over everything. I'm just going to go over the main angle, and we're gonna follow this. This is all through the progression of one show. There's a recap of Paul and Brock saying that a woman named Tracy knows what kind of man the Undertaker is, and Taker clears the ring. This is all in a recap video, but she reveals that she's been sleeping with the Undertaker.
Oh, shiz.
Turns out is married with a child on the way. And she calls him Mark.
What?
Ooh.
Was the Undertaker chewing tobacco?
No, but he was. Mean Mark Callis grabs the mic and he immediately says, "I don't know what you're talking about." She gives him a good slap. And then do the pyro and ballyhoo. Beautiful people, the beautiful people, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Actually, on this show, it's Taz and Michael Cole, so it's whoa, 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 Cole, whoa, Cole. Yeah, that's the musical stylings of Taz. They had a great Edge and Rey Mysterio match. This was the semifinals of their tag team tournament. Edge and Rey Mysterio took on the Reverend Devon and Ron Simmons. Two of them, the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, teaming up together. Unfortunately, they could not defeat the young whippersnappers, Edge and Rey Mysterio, who quickly destroyed them in Edge's hometown of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and got the big win. Eddie and Chavo beat them up after the match, and they had their own semifinal match later that night with Team Angle and Benoit. That's right. When we go back to 2002 SmackDown, you got to remember Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, both all over the show. So it's very, very odd, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll skip ahead to Michael Cole and Taz talking with The Undertaker, who's backstage. He's kind of cutting a promo. They ask him, hey, what's going on? And he says he's never been a liar, so he wants to set the record straight. He took back what he said about not knowing Tracy. He said that he had to make a judgment call because he knew that his wife would be watching last week, and that he hadn't seen Tracy in 7 years. Then he suggests that the last few days at home have been hell regardless, but Hell in a Cell would be worse for Brock. So Brock, Paul, and Tracy are seen walking backstage. And then there's a Billy Kidman John Cena match, which, by the way, this is John Cena's, it's basically the first match of his heel turn. And he still had his old original gear on, but he threw up the sign that would become his Word Life sign. It was super surreal. He didn't have the Word Life music. He didn't have any of the rapper gimmick, but he had that threw up his hands together, and like clearly he had like an idea that they were just kind of letting him try out, and eventually it wound up paying off big time. So Tracy storms into Stephanie McMahon's office, and in some really, really fucking awful acting, she says she slept with the Undertaker 10 days ago. But Stephanie says she doesn't have any, that clearly Tracy doesn't have any respect for anyone in the building, so she's not welcome on SmackDown. And Tracy leaves. Paul argues Brock is the future of SmackDown and Taker is the past, a lunatic with a cast on his hand. Now, this is a key because a couple of weeks ago, Brock and Undertaker got into a backstage fight. Matt Hardy was involved in it, I think. It was like it might have been during like a Falls Count Anywhere match with Matt Hardy versus The Undertaker. Brock assaulted The Undertaker and broke his hand with a fire extinguisher. So
Wow.
Undertaker has a cast on, and he's been using it like he's been hitting people with it, like Bob Orton style, taking them out. So Brock and Paul, of course, the irony, of course, they're the heels. They're like, you can't let him wear that cast. You can't let him wear that cast in Hell in a Cell. That's a dangerous weapon. Brock's the future. You can't do that. And Paul says, yep, he shouldn't be allowed to wear it. After the commercial break, Taker's in the same office, and he's pissed off that Brock and Paul would even suggest that he take off the cast because Brock broke his hand in the first place. When Stephanie says she has to consider everyone's side since she's the GM, and he has been using the cast as a weapon. That's a legitimate point. Well, he flies off the handle, and he uses the cast as a weapon to destroy a lamp in the office. And Stephanie shrieks. And, oh, my God. Are they actually going to take the cast off him? Brock Lesnar and Chuck Palumbo.
Wow.
This is Chuck Palumbo's first singles match after being split up from Billy and Chuck. And the entire reason why they split up Billy and Chuck was explained because Michael Cole says his tag team partner Billy has suffered a serious injury. That's it. That's the end of that tag team. Billy and Chuck never reunite. It is over. But it's pretty easy to forget how big Chuck Palumbo was. He was actually taller than Lesnar, and he was almost as big. But Brock took control early. It was pretty much a squash. They let Chuck get a lot of offense, though. He got advantage in the corner. He gave him 2 super kicks. He gave him his own belly-to-belly suplex. And Brock had to grab the rope to avoid being pinned.
Wow.
But eventually, and this, of course, Brock is the champion at this point. He gets his win back, destroys Chuck with a suplex and an F5. Taker immediately hits the ring and busts Brock wide open with the cast. Blood everywhere. But, of course, when he hits him, he sells his hand big. So it's clear there's still a lot of healing to be done under that cast. So what do, Steph? Do you take the cast off or let the Undertaker run rampant? That's the argument here. And it was a really, really well done thing. Brock is backstage. He's getting treated for his cut. He yells at Paul to go talk to Stephanie. Paul goes to the office. Steph won't make a decision yet, so Paul loses his temper with Stephanie. Up to this point, Paul's been like, come on, Steph, see reason. Now, of course, how Paul Heyman does. And then in this moment, he's like, I can't believe you. I can't believe you would let the Undertaker go in there with the cast. And let's just say Stephanie's not very happy with that. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit are backstage. And Chris is staring him down. And Angle says, well, because Chris had been attacked like a week earlier by Eddie and Chavo. But the thing is, we know, because of course the SmackDown guys never watch the show.
Yeah.
They never watch the show. They don't know what happens. So like we know that Eddie and Chavo attacked Chris, but they tried to pass it off that Kurt Angle attacked Chris because they're forced to team together in this thing. They had just had a match at Unforgiven. And they were forced to team together. And Stephanie said, if you don't team together, you're both suspended. You get a full year's suspension if you fight each other. So they're 2 matches away from the tag team titles. Angle still wants to win them. Chris doesn't seem sure about their partnership. Angle and Benoit versus Los Guerreros. This really, I know this is going to shock you, but this match was amazing. I mean, amazing. It was literally fantastic. And
well, Los Guerreros, I mean, that's easy for them to have a fantastic match. I mean, They're probably one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
That's right. One of the 5 greatest tag teams in the last 10 years in WWE. Let me tell you that. Or the last 15, rather. Let me tell you that.
Nearly as good as the New Day.
Oh, sure. Actually better than the New Day. It's really funny how that works. But the finish came after Eddie ran Kurt into Benoit and the referee, and they both went out of the ring. Kurt put on the ankle lock, and of course, Eddie's tapping like crazy with no ref. Chavo comes in with a chair. Chris grabs it out of his hands. Chavo begs off, but Chris shakes his hand. And he teases like with the referee gone, he's going to attack Angle. Of course, Taz and Michael Cole are going crazy. He's going to get a year suspension. He's going to get a year suspension, Cole. And instead, he smashes the Guerreros with the chair. And Angle hits the Angle slam. Benoit throws Mike Chioda in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit advance to the pay-per-view for the tag team title match with Edge and Rey Mysterio.
Wow.
Finally, in the main event segment, Stephanie McMahon comes out for her ruling on The Undertaker with the cast. Brock is out with a big bandage on his head. Steph takes some time explaining what's going on, because, of course, she always does that, but rules that The Undertaker will, in fact, be able to wear his cast in Hell in a Cell. And as Stephanie tries to exit the ring, Brock literally gets in her way and begins to stare her down. He physically intimidates her into the corner. Like, you motherfucker. Like he will not. He's like, I can't believe that you just did this. And Lesnar Taker runs down for the save. Lesnar hits a spine buster, stomps in the broken hand. Heyman is screaming in Taker's face. He was going to leave the ring because Brock leaves the ring. But Heyman's like slapping Taker on the ground, and Taker takes him down and destroys him with the cast. So both Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar were destroyed with this cast, knocked bloody by the end of this show. And leading into the pay-per-view, The Undertaker's allowed to use that cast. I think Brock Lesnar's in trouble.
Oh, man.
That was the end of the show. So what do you think about that build?
It's pretty impressive. I mean, that
was all in one show. That was one show's worth of build.
That's amazing. Yeah, I miss build up like that in professional wrestling. That's for sure. I
mean, they gave him like 4 or 5 segments through the entire night. It was this running story. I mean, and they didn't just have that one either. They had Eddie and Benoit and their relationship and them being buddies. Like, they played that against each other with the tag team match too. They had all of this stuff going on. Not to mention that when Eddie and Chavo attacked Rey Mysterio and Edge after their match. So before the Los Guerreros versus Angle and Benoit match, Edge and Rey Mysterio actually ran down and beat the shit out of all 4 guys. They just like ran roughshod, and they were like, we don't care. We don't care which one of you guys we face. We're the best team in the business, man. We're gonna take those championships. Of course, they didn't wind up taking the titles. Angle and Benoit won the championships.
Yeah.
Were champions for all of 1 month. But they were the inaugural WWE Tag Team Champions. In fact, the same Tag Team Champions that the New Day currently holds today.
It's crazy.
Yep, because they decided to keep the newer lineage instead of the lineage of the old World Tag Team title.
Yeah.
But yeah, good show. Again, I'm always impressed when I go back and watch this stuff, and I'm glad that it's not just a nostalgic eye. You know what I mean? It would be different if I remembered it being really good and it was actually shitty. But no, it's very solid, especially compared to what I'm sure we're going to get tonight for a go-home show. The AJ and Cena build has been pretty good, but the problem is that that's one segment out of a 3-hour show.
Yep.
And am I the only one who thought it was weird that there was no Roman and no Seth last week? It was just videos?
That is weird. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't weird at all. It was just, I don't know. It's just, it's like, I don't know. It's odd.
Kind of old school, but I mean, again, you've got a 3-hour show. You're not going to use your stars? Come on. True.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, now Joshua, I guess I'm going to get out of here and let you do your TNA Impact review, but before I go, you can. Do we want to do the closer right now?
Why don't I just do the TNA Slammiversary review right now, and then you and I will close it out like we always do, buddy.
Oh, okay, sure.
Here we're gonna do it right now. TNA Slammiversary happened last night. Now, wasn't that an exciting review?
Oh my God.
What did you think?
Not gonna watch that show. Not gonna.
Overall, honestly, it was pretty good. But yeah, just yeah, I don't know. I'll let everybody kind of discover them for themselves. It was kind of interesting to see James Storm come back, though, even though we just had discussed a little bit earlier about how he hadn't been around on any of the recent tapings. But they apparently threw him on the card. It's like, oh, yeah, we have you under contract. Let's do something with you. But TNA had been touting all week long that it was the beginning of a new era in TNA wrestling.
Whoa, it's a new era for everybody nowadays.
It's a new era for everybody. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I think it's a good show, and I think everybody should check it out. But thank you everyone for listening this week on Pro Wrestling Off Topic. That is for Zach Hagenbusher and myself. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on TuneIn. You can check us out on Podomatic. You can follow us on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @_Joshua Turbo. Don't forget the underscore, as it is super duper ultra mega important. Give me a follow there. You can always check us out here on this YouTube channel as well. But most importantly, keep on wrestling. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.